Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 5:17 in the morning, East Coast time, Saturday. Hope your weekends are off to a great start. It is June 8th. Yes, we're up early and at 'em. I'm excited to take a first look at the Game 5, which hopefully we kind of get more out of this series, because right now the Raptors are dominating. The Warriors look lost without KD. And really, I don't feel bad too much. That's the teams that the Warriors have picked apart the last 4 years, teams that have been injury-riddled when you look at the Cavs half of those years. So let's jump right into it. If this is your first time at my channel, I'm going to break down this slate today in terms of a first look, right? This is my first look looking at the salaries at all. I looked at some of the stats from last night. I didn't watch the second half. People are getting on my case about not watching these basketball games as if that means something. Do you watch all 12 basketball games during the regular season? No. Why do you have to watch one during the NBA Finals, the second half, that it ends at midnight? I have to get up early. I guarantee you that I know more than every single casual fan watching it based on the databases and based on the just websites that we can use. I can tell you a lot of things that happened last night that you don't even know happened. So that's why I'm here. So for the people who don't want to watch, yes, in the comments that they do not want to watch my content during the NBA Finals because I do not watch the games, you're probably misinformed. So let's get into it. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, I'll be breaking down from a first look tomorrow morning. I'm going to be traveling home, so that's why I'm up a little bit extra early today. Got up a little after 4, but I'll be traveling home today, so not going to be doing any live streams or anything like that tonight. Tomorrow morning, we will have the breakdown in terms of a projection standpoint, where I'm standing on this slate. And yeah, excited to get into it. I covered daily fantasy sports in like all different avenues, so not just this one. So be sure to check it out. And let's get right down into it today. Excited. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We're 150 away from 5,000. It's very exciting. So let's get into it. Kauai is 12K, the first 12K player that we've had in this series. Curry's price drops about 200. Kauai spikes by 400. That's fine. Kauai played incredible last night. He shot, 11 of 12, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head, 50%. 5 of 9 from downtown. Look, the guy's incredible. I don't care what price point he's at in a one-game sample. This guy is going to be in my lineups more times than not, and as of right now, I'm fine getting to Kauai. I believe he was the captain that was needed last night to take it all down, scoring 68 points in fantasy. Yeah, he looked great. That's all I can say. There's not much more analysis to give you. He played his normal 41 minutes. He shot above average, right? But that's because he hit his ceiling, so that's nothing surprising there. He was all over the court. He was keeping them literally in the game to start. He had the first 14 of their 17 points. I didn't think that they were going to be anywhere near staying in that game when it started to pull away really early in the first, midway through the first, down 9 points or so. Kauai just hits back-to-back threes. This guy's an absolute machine. I'm excited to moving forward. $12,000 seems like a lot. It's that flat price point. It's hitting a new overall price point that we haven't seen yet, so maybe, and hopefully, it takes some people off of him. But based off the fact that he just had his second 60-plus point fantasy game in the past 3 games, 2 out of 3, and he goes for 68, almost touches 70. Yeah, I think Kauai is going to be loved once again in ownership-wise. And the thing is, it's not like this was Steph's game, the game before, where he took advantage of Klay not being out and Steph took 31-plus shots. No, Kauai coming out next game has the ability to go for 60-plus once again. I had him projected for 59, and then he hits his ceiling. So, yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere in that same neighborhood. Steph at 11.6. I was on the fade Steph train once again. I thought it made so much sense last night when you have him once again taking 31 shots before last night because Klay Thompson was out. Boogie Cousins wasn't getting full run, which still seems to be the case. But Steph last night, he's now at 11.6. This is a fine price point, but he's still too much in my eyes. I do want to quickly just look at how many shot attempts Klay took last night. 18. So 18 is what Klay's been averaging during the playoffs. And did Steph come right back down to his 18? So Steph took even extended shots, 22, which was about 3 to 4 more than he's been taking in the first 2 games of these NBA Finals. So Klay came back, took his 18 shots. Steph took 31 shots, so an extra 10 when Klay was off the court that time, which allowed him to get to his big ceiling game and obviously more usage in terms of rebounds and mainly assists without Klay being out there. So Steph being 11.6, I get it. It's fine. His ceiling, he's going to grade out nicely. He's going to grade out for probably 45-plus fantasy points in my model. But I'm once again in this position where, okay, he's 11.6 now. Kauai definitely is the better overall player in terms of grading out median projection-wise and also ceiling-wise when you have Klay Thompson on the floor, who is going to impact Steph. And we saw it last night. You did not need Steph. Now going on the road in a spot where Toronto is just poised to close this thing out. I'm probably not going to get to Steph so much at 11.6. He did shoot he's been shooting fine in the entire series. It's just a matter of how much volume he gets. When he gets 31 shots, then yeah, he's probably a really good play. 22 shots, yeah, he's a good play, but at 11-6, if anybody else touches anywhere near 45-50, you don't need Steph. And that's exactly what happened last night when Draymond went for right around that 45-point mark. You didn't need Steph because somebody else got you there for a cheaper price. So that's where I still stand on Steph. It's nothing against him being a bad player. It's the fact that he's priced as the second most expensive player on the slate when there's guys below him right now who are going to be producing very similarly for a cheaper price, or at least can have that potential to produce at a similar capability, give you the same type of points for a similar price. Draymond Green at 10-6. I still love Draymond here. So the thing that I said in the past game, and let's just pull up Draymond. I want to see. I know he didn't get the 10 rebounds. He just missed out. The 12 assists was the thing, right? Yep. So he just misses out on his triple-double. So there's a couple things that I said. Draymond wasn't projecting out well in my model last night, mainly because of I had Boogie playing more minutes, and what that did for Draymond was pretty much push his rebounding numbers down a little bit. So it took his rebounding numbers below 10, and if they were at 10, it would have gave him a triple-double. So what that does for fantasy, you lose an extra 3.5 points. You obviously lose that rebound, so there's about 4 points or so. So I had him projecting out for 38.5, but if you give him that triple-double, he's right around 43. Well, last night, and I also said, his assist numbers were 4. You're not going to see Draymond Green only getting 4 assists. The reason why you saw Draymond Green get 4 assists in Game 3 was because Steph Curry was being doubled. There was no Klay Thompson. Andre Iguodala wasn't hitting his shots. Quinn Cook wasn't hitting his shots. How the heck's a guy supposed to get assist numbers if he's not hitting his shots? So people were all off of Draymond Green. Oh, he only got 35 points at $10,600. He's terrible. He did everything that he had been doing. 17 real points, picked up, I believe, a steal or a block, got you 9 or 10 rebounds still. Or actually got 7 rebounds, but he only had 4 assists. So if he gets those extra 4 assists from his teammates, then yeah, he's right there at that same point. So I was very high on Draymond. He played exceptionally well. His price only goes up $200. That's a mistake. Draymond Green, if you're going to be telling me that Curry is 11-6 and you're going to price correct guys like Danny Green $1,200 overnight for having good games, Draymond should probably be $11,000 right now. So I'm very much in favor of still getting 40-plus minute Draymond Green here. Kevin Durant, I don't expect him to play in this series. If by any miracle this guy steps on the court now that they're down 3-1 and tries to be the superhero, which I doubt, his career very much could be on the line, $10,000 for KD should be 100% lock buttoned into your lineups if you get the news that KD is playing with no minutes restriction. I highly doubt this, but we do have 2 off days, so keep an eye on that type of news. Siakam got his normal run in this game. I believe he touched 40 minutes once again. His price comes up to $9,600, and now it's in a price range where for only $1,000 more I can get Draymond Green, who's going to be playing similar minutes, who is going to be more of an impact on this team for a few reasons. The one reason is he's a triple-double machine. He lights up the peripherals, and he's also a great steals guy. So when a guy is going to be getting me more assists, and by far more assists than Siakam will be getting me, that's one thing that looks nice. And when he has that triple-double upside for the bonuses on Draftkings, that also looks nice. Now Siakam has the higher point ceiling to the mid-20s, when Draymond's really, his point ceiling is honestly the 15s, the 17s like we've been seeing with these other guys on his team. But with Kauai on your team sucking up a ton of usage, I would rather pay $1,000 more for Draymond Green, who is going to give you that floor in production due to his assist numbers. If the guy's going to go out there and average, which he's been right around averaging in the playoffs, 7 to 8 assists a game compared to Siakam's like 2 to 3, I'll take those extra 8 points of a floor every single night. So when I look at the price points, there was at times when Draymond was $1,600 more than Siakam, and I think that's getting a little bit excessive. But now with Draymond's price barely coming up and Siakam's price continuing to come up, $1,000 is something that I'm fine going to Draymond over, since we've just been seeing even in this series with Kauai on him or Siakam on him, good defenders, Draymond's still able to get his. Klay Thompson, the man, the myth, the legend, $8,800. Look, people were telling me last night, Sal, aren't you worried that he's not going to play his full run? No, I was completely fine. And the guy played more than his full run. I projected him for 40 minutes. We could look here at Popcorn Machine. He plays 42 minutes last night. 42 and a half almost, and he finishes out the game playing the final 14 minutes, and he only didn't play, and let's look at it quickly, 8:43, so he gets 9, 10, 15. He played, this is crazy, this man played 22 and a half minutes in the second half. Holy cow, let's actually look at this again, Klay Thompson's minutes. I mean, I get it, right? 42 minutes, he has to be playing a lot of minutes. Klay played 34 of the final 36 minutes in this game. Holy cap. So don't tell me that this man is injured. We got the news 36 hours before that Klay Thompson was going to be fine. So playing the last 34 out of 36 minutes of a basketball game, I don't care who you are. That's impressive. So Klay Thompson seems exceptionally fine. He shot well. He looked good out there. He was actually posting up Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry and him have been the primary defenders of each other in this series for the most part. He's actually posting up Kyle Lowry to start that game. So yeah, Klay at 8,800. The price point's coming to a point where it's a little bit too much. But if I'm a guy who wants to be not playing Curry as much, I'd probably have to then rely on a Klay plus a Draymond, a Klay plus a Draymond plus a Cousins plus an Iggy, whatever it is. I have to get me 2 to 3, it's even 4 Warriors players to make up for the production that I'm trying to predict Curry will not get to at that price point. Kyle Lowry, 7,600. Kyle Lowry sees a little bit less minutes, and the thing that's surprising is you would think Fred VanVleet's minutes would go up in that game, but they don't go up in that game. So Kyle Lowry, not the same type of performance that we saw, and it was probably pretty easy to project. And this is what you're seeing, and I think that this is important, not just trying to show a stat box here. This right here, well, I guess that's not going to help you, but the first 2 columns right here. So what you got in these first 2 games was Klay Thompson on Kyle Lowry. He shot 22%. Klay Thompson on Kyle Lowry, he shoots 36%. Not terrible, but definitely not great, right, in terms of hitting your ceiling in a fantasy game. Then Klay is out, and he takes more shots. He has more open shots. He gets 18. He shoots 8 of 16, 5 of 9 from 3. Okay, so that's a ceiling game. Everybody hops on him. That's the exact time that I hop off. Klay is back, and he now shoots 3 of 12. So Klay is making Kyle Lowry's life miserable. And now Klay isn't on him for every single one of these shots, every single one of these shots, every single one of these shots. The point is he's on him for the majority of those shots. So Klay is making his life a living hell. He actually shot worse than 25% when Klay was on him. He only made one of his shots with Klay guarding him last night. So this is a real issue. I do believe that Klay Thompson is impacting by a far margin Kyle Lowry. So Kyle Lowry is going down in price to 7,600. The first thing I think when I see that is this man is too cheap. He's playing on average 40 minutes a game when he plays the entire game in the playoffs. This man is way too cheap for his price point of 7,600 as a starting point guard who gets a lot of usage because he's a point guard who's going to rack up assists because Kawhi Leonard is on your team. But then when I look down into it, you have to have a points floor. If I need 15 points out of a $7,600 Kyle Lowry plus 8 assists or something like that, which is probably what you need, pick up 2 rebounds, pick up a block or a steal, and get me close to 35 fantasy points, I don't know if I could rely on those points. We're seeing his shooting numbers with Klay Thompson in there. Now Klay is beyond healthy, it seems. It seems he's 100% healed or whatever they're putting into his system to get 42 minutes out there. He is guarding Lowry more and more. So yeah, I am, as of right now, not on Kyle Lowry, but I'll have to see how the price points move around because you do get this significant drop-off point from 8,800 to 7,600, which is a big gap. You once again only get one player in the 9K range, one player in the 8K range, technically one player in the 10K range if we count KD as not being in. So the salary structure once again is interesting. I'm going to continue to scroll down and hopefully we get to some sort of value. So let's go through some of these a little bit quicker. Fred VanVleet, let's look over on the minutes now because this is the stuff that starts to get important. So Fred VanVleet's minutes go down to 29. That's nothing scary, right? He was playing on average 32 minutes a game outside of the one where Kyle Lowry fouled out. Got in foul trouble, he played 38. So 29 minutes is not something I really bat an eye at. Pat McCaw played his minute and a half once again, his honorary minute and a half of getting into the NBA Finals, it seems. So that did not take away from Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet continues to run alongside of Kyle Lowry. These guys are not impacting each other's minutes by any means. Fred VanVleet checks in and out for Danny Green. Every single game so far, that's what he continues to do here. So Fred VanVleet checking in and out here. He checks in with 6 minutes left directly in for Danny Green, and they continue to check in and out for each other. Now, Danny Green got 30 minutes in this game. I projected Danny Green to have 30 minutes in this game based on having foul trouble in Game 3. Danny Green's 30 minutes in this game, getting 2 or 3 more than he has in the past few games, directly took away from Fred VanVleet. That's something that in Game 3 I should have factored a little bit more. I took those minutes pretty much from Pat McCaw saying that he wasn't going to get these garbage 2 minutes anymore. That was probably my mistake. Pat McCaw, for some reason, gets these garbage 2 minutes in the second quarter once again. But Fred VanVleet sees 2 to 3 less minutes, and those 2 to 3 more minutes just pretty much directly go to Danny Green. In this game, Danny Green plays, which is very reassuring if you're a Danny Green fan or somebody who wants to roster him or did roster him. He plays the final 16 minutes of the game. So even though Fred VanVleet starts the second half for Danny Green for the second game in a row, and we were told that that was for offensive purposes, Danny Green still closes, and that's one of the best indicators in terms of you're going to start the next game. So Danny Green closing with the starters. The starters closed it out for the Raptors. That's something That is good to see. That's something that we don't have to be concerned about. Any type of Fred VanVleet starting over Danny Green the next game. This is the second game in a row that this has happened. They just look for an offensive spark to start the second half, and that makes sense. Last game it didn't work. You go on an 18-0 run, or you give up an 18-0 run. But this game, it seems like that was working a little bit better for them. All right. Let's get down into it now and keep moving along. I think there's some more interesting things that we could definitely hit on as we go through these prices. So Marc Gasol is something to hit on. Gasol sees 28 minutes. I had him projected for 30, so nothing major, right? But there's no foul trouble for Marc Gasol. At least I don't think so as I look at this. Gets a personal foul early. Only one foul at the half. Picks up his third foul or second foul in the third quarter, but that doesn't take him out. So yeah, Marc Gasol played actually pretty good. He only had, 2 personal fouls in that game. So 28 minutes out of Gasol, that's a little bit less. So I was like, why did he only see 28? And then I see Ibaka sees 22, which makes me go, well, those numbers add up to 40, so they played, or those numbers add up to 50, so these guys played alongside each other, which is very interesting. So Serge Ibaka sees a couple of things. He sees time alongside Marc Gasol for about 2 minutes in this game, which is something that we haven't seen too much of in the playoffs. Ibaka gets to check in right away from Marc Gasol, but then Ibaka comes on for another minute and a half spurt for Pascal Siakam. Not sure why. I'm not sure if Siakam got injured at that point or something, but he comes on for, right here, a minute and a half for Siakam. So he plays alongside Gasol for a minute and a half, and then Siakam comes right back in for him. So that was definitely a little weird rotation where Serge Ibaka comes off the court for a minute and then goes back on for a minute and a half and then comes off the court. So you can give a minute and a half to Ibaka right there. If he doesn't get that weird rotation, he's down to 19 minutes. We've had him projected at 18, so that's fine. But where does he get maybe extra minutes, or why is Marc Gasol's minutes going down 2 minutes? Is this something to be worried about? And no, I broke down into it. When Serge Ibaka comes on the court at the end of the third quarter to when he stays on the court really towards midway through, towards the later part of the fourth quarter, you can see right here this line, and I'll zoom in. This line goes straight up. What that line tells you is that the Toronto Raptors started to increase their lead. The exact time that Serge Ibaka comes in, they go on a run. And then they continue this run until midway through. They go down a little bit, then they hit their peak. So during that time, they went on a 30-18 run. From midway through the third quarter to the end or midway through the fourth quarter. And Serge Ibaka was on that in that game for the better part of that run. So when players are in a game while it's going well, they just get extended run, especially if they're playing well during that time. Ibaka played well during that time. They kept scoring points. There's no reason to mess up the flow of the game, if you will. And during that time, it hurt Marc Gasol by about 2 minutes. He only comes in for the fourth quarter after taking his normal rest of about 5 minutes in the third quarter. He only comes in for 5 minutes in the fourth quarter. Gasol usually closes out the game with 7 to 8 minutes in the playoffs. So that's where Gasol's minutes go down. You can add an extra 1 to 2 minutes to Serge Ibaka because of that. So Ibaka picks up this minute and a half. That was very weird, where he checks in for Siakam in the first half, and he probably gains about an extra 2 minutes in this fourth quarter, giving you anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes extra for Ibaka. A minute and a half of those can be given to to Pascal Siakam. He came out for a quick breather if you want. You can continue to give those minutes to Serge, say that those were reliable minutes in the first half. But the second half's minutes, he got an extra 2 minutes because of the run that they were on, which would have gone to Marc Gasol. So continuing to give Serge Ibaka 18 to 19 minutes and continuing to give Marc Gasol 30 minutes is probably something that I do. Even though the past 2 games they haven't got it. Last game was due to foul trouble. This game was due to the biggest run in the game, a 13-1 run at the end. You can see it right here. A 13-1 run at the end of the third and a 6-0 run to start the fourth or midway through the fourth while Serge Ibaka was on the court. Guys just aren't going to be checking out during that time. It ruins the flow of the game. So that's where I'm at with that. That is the reason why, and I kind of break down 2 birds with 1 stone there, Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. Based on the price points, Marc Gasol at $6,000. Keep giving me cheap Marc Gasol, please. Now he's going back home where he performs just great. Or a lot better at home historically, at least during these postseasons, and then when he was in Memphis. So $6,000 for Marc Gasol, and you're going to increase the price of Serge Ibaka? Please. I could be wrong here, but what I'm seeing in the data and what people who probably watched the game last night don't recognize, because you can only see players checking in and out, I get it. Serge Ibaka played exceptionally well. He scored 20 points. He should be priced higher. He should be getting more minutes. But if we're trying to look at why he got more minutes, it was because of him playing productive during that 13-1 run, and really what it came down to being like a 20-10 run, a 13-1 run paired with a 6-0 run the time that he was in the late third, beginning of the fourth. I don't think that all of a sudden just walks Marc Gasol off the court. He still played 28 minutes in that game. I would think that Marc Gasol sees 30 once again. Maybe you get more time with Serge Ibaka playing alongside Marc Gasol, so you can get Ibaka up to 20 minutes. Otherwise, I'm probably going to continue to project Ibaka for 18 to 19 minutes. I get it. He played 20 minutes. He got 20 fantasy points, or more than that. He got 20 real points, like 30 fantasy points in that time that he was given. He made the best of it. He's been being really productive in his time. $6,000 Marc Gasol, though, is still extremely interesting to me. $5,000 Serge Ibaka becomes a guy who, if I really think he's only going to see 18 to 19 to 20 minutes tops, a guy that I don't want, especially coming off of a ceiling game. Everybody wants to flock to Serge Ibaka at $5,000, which the price point doesn't come up too much because he was already $4,400. He just had a ceiling game, and there's a great chance, I would say, like probably a 65-35, 70-30 chance against Serge Ibaka that he doesn't see 21 to 22 plus minutes again. So I like Gasol at 6,000. He's still too cheap. I think Ibaka is fine at 5,000. Kevon Looney's price comes up to 5,600. Was this guy last night actually $3,600? Wow, so price comes down $2,000 for Kevon Looney, who played well in the first half, right? Finishes with 18.5 fantasy points. He's way too expensive now. There's no way. There's just no way. 5,600 is ridiculous. The guy started off the game extremely hot. He shot like, what did he shoot overall? Like he was like 3 of 4 early on, and then he shot 1 of 4 in the second half. So he shot 4 of 4 in the first half because he shot 1 of 4 in the second half. So that is definitely different numbers. He shot extremely well, being 5 of 8. Got some rebounds. I don't know what the hell's going on with Boogie Cousins. This man does not seem like he's going to be staying on the court. But $5,600 for Kevon Looney, who, yes, he came back. He had a torch lit under him. Thought that he was going to be out for the postseason. Came back, had a tip slam or a putback for an offensive rebound and a point. 18 fantasy points in the amount of time that he got, which wasn't that much, right? He ended up getting, around 20 minutes? Yeah, so 20 minutes. You're still going to have Bogut playing well out there. I think you have to somehow continue to give DeMarcus Cousins time in this series, whether it is 14 minutes, whether it is 10 minutes. There is no ceiling, in my opinion, for Kevon Looney at 5,600. I think the ceiling game was realistically last game, 20 minutes, 18 fantasy points. This opponent it's been tough for him. And the second half showed that more so than the first half did. The first half of his performance, when he had like 10 or 12 fantasy points at the half, that is an outlier performance for a half for Kevon Looney here. 5,600 is ridiculous. 3,600, sure, you can take that risk. I don't even know if I take the risk at 4,600, but 5,600, there's no way. At that price point of 5,600, you have to have realistic 30 fantasy point upside. And Kevon Looney's not going to get the minutes to do that, one. And even if he goes back up to 25 minutes, this is a brutal matchup for him. We can go back to the first 2 games of the series where he was healthy. He was playing 28 minutes, or I guess really just game 1. He played 28 minutes and he scored 15 fantasy points. The first half of game 2, he played 10 minutes. He doesn't even score a fantasy point, 0.75, and that was when he was healthy. So he's having a brutal time here. There's no way you touch, or at least I don't, 5,600 Kevon Looney. 5,400 Andre Iguodala is interesting. This man played 38 minutes last night. We can check Popcorn Machine. He plays 38 minutes last night, and the thing that impressed me the most was old man Andre Iguodala played the last about 21 minutes in the second half. 21 minutes in the second half for Andre Iguodala. That's impressive. And if you want to go all the way back to the end of the first quarter, when he plays an extra 5 minutes, this man played 26 of the final like 32 minutes of this game. That's really impressive for a guy his age. So Andre Iguodala, the increased run could lead to a couple of things here, right? Alfonso McKinney still got his average 8.5 minutes that he's been getting. The biggest factor here was Jonas Jerebko does not step on the court. We've been seeing Jerebko from anywhere from 6 to on average of really 8 minutes. Pretty much they just said, Jerebko, you're not coming in. Andre, you're staying in the game. It makes sense. You're down 2-1 in the series. You'd rather have your guys out there that you trust to try and get you even. 3-1 is definitely not somewhere that you want to be. Now they are there. So the thing that happened with Andre Iguodala gets 38 minutes instead of his on average, which he was getting around 30, 29. And that's pretty much all 8, I guess you can say, of Jonas Jerebko's minutes, because Draymond still saw his run. Steph Curry saw increased run to 43 minutes, which hurt Quinn Cook. Klay Thompson saw minutes to 42. Which hurt Quinn Cook and Sean Livingston and Alfonso McKinney to some extent, each of them. So there was nothing else that really Andre Iguodala was taking away from in this game. It was really just all of Jonas Jerebko's minutes is what I can break it down to. So that's all that I can break that down to. And if that's the case, moving forward, getting that assurance that he's going to be getting that run, especially now that they're done, Andre Iguodala at 5,400 is way too cheap. We talked about Ibaka. I think 5,000 after a ceiling game. I don't want it. I'd rather go to Gasol for 6,000. And now we're getting trolled. $4,800 DeMarcus Cousins, who for some reason is only playing 14 minutes in a game. I get it. He picked up his second foul halfway through the first quarter. He was playing so aggressively, picks up his second foul. He checks right back in, though, and he does really absolutely nothing. He goes 1 of 4 shooting, playing really bad on defense. So he gets back in there for just a normal little spurt of 5 minutes, ends up in the first half with only 10 minutes played total. The 2 personal fouls early, I think, really hurt him. I think he would have played an extra minute or 2 or 3 in the first quarter, and that could have set the tone for how this game was going to go. But Kevon Looney comes into the game and he plays exceptionally well, right? He goes 4 of 4 in the first half. He plays really well with his time. He picks up a steal, or he picks up a block, a steal, whatever it might have been. Actually, that might have been Livingston's steal. But Kevon Looney comes in. He plays exceptionally well. He gets 2 offensive rebounds that I saw, a couple of defensive rebounds. So when you're Steve Kerr and you see one guy coming off an injury, playing hot, playing inspired and motivated, and you see another guy in foul trouble early and not playing like he wants to be there, well then, yeah, Kevon Looney is going to get that extra run. He did. He saw 20 minutes in this game. Andrew Bogut saw 11 minutes in this game. DeMarcus Cousins saw 15. That actually doesn't add up to all 48 of the center's minutes. You actually have, I believe, at one of the end of these quarters, somebody coming in for 2 minutes extra. I think they played extremely small at one point for like a minute or two. Klay Thompson came on the court, and you had Draymond at the 5 for about 2 minutes in this game, which was interesting. So that's what I would say mainly about the time for DeMarcus Cousins, is that I have no idea right now. I have to look into it. He's still starting, so back-to-back games starting at 4,800. I might roll the dice once again. I rolled it last night. He was my captain in my one lineup, and it definitely burnt me. I think a lot of that is because of a combination of a couple things. 2 early fouls. It gets him out. He only plays 5 minutes. But the fact that Looney came in and played exceptionally well in that first half, it hurt him. It put his minutes a little bit behind some others. But the thing that I don't understand, and I guess that this is where they're just playing 3 centers. Bogut checks in the second quarter, or the second half second quarter for DeMarcus Cousins. He checks in for about 5 minutes. He doesn't do anything outside of play good defense and snag 4 offensive boards or 4 defensive boards. Kevon Looney plays the last 2 minutes of that, and then you can see the second half. Cousins starts off. He plays his normal 5 minutes. Picks up a couple of blocks. He actually plays decently in those 5 minutes. Kevon Looney or Bogut then checks in just for a few minutes. They dice it up so weird. Bogut checks in for a few minutes. Kevon Looney then checks in. And this is where they went small. Quinn Cook comes in for a minute and a half here, and that's where they're going small. No Bogut, no Looney, no Cousins on the court. So if you're trying to add that up to 48 center minutes, that's why. And then you can see the thing that is a little bit worrisome is, the thing that is a little bit worrisome is DeMarcus Cousins doesn't play any of the fourth quarter, and he doesn't play the final 7.5 minutes of the third. So Cousins isn't playing pretty much very close to the last 20 minutes of this game. And that's really being taken in by Kevon Looney. He played the very bulk part, about 9 minutes of that fourth quarter. And then you got Andrew Bogut playing about the other 3 minutes. So Cousins not closing the game with the starters is concerning. I would not be shocked for this next game to see Kevon Looney starting and that there's something going on with Cousins, whether it's still his injury or whether he's just not motivated and there's some locker room issues going on there. I don't know. Would not surprise me with DeMarcus Cousins, but that's the thing that concerns me the most. The fact that I did not see DeMarcus Cousins close the game, and nor, when you add it all up, play really the last 19 to 20 minutes of this game, $4,800 is going to be extremely tempting. I imagine he gets chalky because on these showdown slates, we're really struggling to find any sort of value. And once again, you're going to be so struggling to find any sort of value. So right now, I'm very iffy on it. If he continues to start, if we get the starting lineup news somewhat early, I probably might roll him out in a utility spot at that price point because he has by far the biggest ceiling if he could just stay on the court. But I'm a little bit concerned there. I do chalk it up to the early foul trouble combined with Kevon Looney playing really well in that game, especially the first half, but not seeing him for the final 19 minutes of the game. That's the most concerning thing about this. So have to be looking into that a little bit more. Danny Green goes out there and plays 30 minutes. His price comes down only $400. Something that I do want to look into, and again, his price comes down $400, but in the other games it was going down $1,000. So we do not get value Danny Green this game. $4,400 though. Pretty much he shot 6 of 10 the game before, 60%. That's not going to be replicated, and you can see he does the exact opposite. He hits one extreme here, going to his ceiling, and then he goes to his absolute bottom number by going 1 of 7. That's exactly what a streaky shooter is, and that's exactly what Danny Green gives you. Although Danny Green is going to be playing around 30 minutes. Nobody else down here in this range is going to be playing around 30 minutes in a game. So $4,400 Danny Green, yes, he definitely has to be probably the best value play on the slate below $5,000 right now if you're trying to tell me that DeMarcus Cousins isn't going to see a 20-minute mark in a game. So That's where I'm at. Andrew Bogut at 3,600, not playing him, not with Kevon Looney back. I don't think Andrew Bogut's in play. Bogut at a very high point is what last game was with these three centers back. I imagine that Looney continues to see 15 plus minutes a game, probably between 15 and 18. I do imagine that Cousins should be seeing 20 plus minutes in this game. I would project him for at least 20 moving forward, which leaves me to believe that at most Bogut gets 10 minutes. $3,600, that's just not enough. Bogut would have to be in the low 2,000s, high teens in terms of pricing for me to go there. Sean Livingston is $3,000. He's going to continue to be viable. Here's the thing. There's no value on these slates. Last night's winner won with Sean Livingston getting him 12 points. 12 fantasy points from Sean Livingston. We had him projected for 11.5 or so. So that's all it takes because there's no other value. Sean Livingston was, what, 2,600 last night. He's 3,000 right now. He's still the best guy in terms of the very cheap value here. I think I would go Danny Green now over Sean Livingston for $1,400 more, but it's very close. Sean Livingston is by far a better play than Bogut, by far a better play than Cook, Powell, McKinney, Jordan Bell, all these guys down here who are all together combined probably only going to see the amount of time that Sean Livingston sees. Powell got a little bit more run. He saw 10 minutes or so. So at 2,200, Powell seeing 10 minutes or so is nothing great. This guy's like a 0.6 fantasy point per minute producer. So yeah, Sean Livingston at $3,000, definitely still in play, definitely still interests me. There's nobody below 3K that I'd want. And in terms of guys below 5K, it's really Sean Livingston at the very cheap end of 3,000. Danny Green at 4,400 becomes interesting because those minutes are so valuable, especially at that bottom number. And he shot very poorly last game. 1 of 7. If he can balance out these past two performances, he's going to get you right around 20 fantasy points, which is all you need out of him at 4,400 on such a small slate. You need pretty much 22 fantasy points. DeMarcus Cousins at 4,800 is going to be the biggest question mark on this entire slate. People are going to be hot about Serge Ibaka, wanting to play him. I'm not playing him at $5,000 after a ceiling performance. People might want to get to Kevon Looney. That's a ridiculous price point. There's no way I get there unless you tell me Cousins is not playing. If Kevon Looney starts, then 5,600 becomes interesting. But Cousins right now, if he's starting, he's probably still going to be interesting to me because he has to be getting locked in some sort of minute security. I don't understand not playing the last 19 minutes, though. I have to dig deeper into that. I'm very concerned about him not playing the rest of that time. I get it. Looney was playing well. But the second half, Looney decided not to play well. Now, in retrospect, you look back on it and you say, oh, that second half, Looney played poorly. We should have put in Cousins. But when in the heat of the game, you're saying, oh, Looney's having a good game. And as the minutes are going by, you don't realize that he's playing much worse in the second half. So that's where I'm at right now with these lineups. That's how the salaries are looking. That's how some of these things over here broke down in terms of some players seeing less minutes. There was no Jonas Jerebko, increases Andre Iguodala's run. I think you continue to see that going forward. Maybe not to the extent of 38 minutes, but 36 minutes is more than viable. This DeMarcus Cousins situation is very interesting to me. If you're trying to add up the center's minutes, there was 2 minutes where they only went with Draymond at the center, and Quinn Cook came in to have a smaller team at the end of the third quarter. Ibaka saw more run because he got a very weird minute and a half check-in to give Serge Ibaka a breather in the first half, along with going on a 13-1 run when he was on the court in the third quarter and a 6-0 run to start the fourth quarter. He was on the court for both of those, which extended his playing time by about 2 minutes. I still project Ibaka to only see about 18 or 19 minutes, even after having a very good game. Sure, maybe they give him a bump to 20 minutes, but even at that price of $5,000, after having a ceiling game and more ownership, I'm likely to avoid it. I think, just summing this up, that Kauai is still too cheap at $12,000. This guy should probably be $13,000 for the amount of floor and ceiling games that he has in these postseasons and how high his floor is. I'm still probably on this fade Steph Curry train, although now it might become popular, right? He's not needed 2 out of these last 3 games. Like, people are trying to tell me Steph Curry has been needed. He wasn't needed to win it all in Game 2, and now he wasn't needed to win it all in terms of fantasy in Game 4. He was needed in Game 3 because there's nobody else on the court, and that was fairly predictable. So at 11-6, the reason you're not needing Steph is not because he's not a good player. It's because he's priced at a point where it's really hard to get to other good players in that lineup, and his teammates, like Draymond, are just as productive as him on most nights, right? And Draymond has been just as productive. The last 2 out of 3 nights, I think Draymond has outscored Steph Curry, so don't try and tell me that Steph Curry should be $11,600 when these guys are healthy. Draymond Green at $10,600, I do prefer to Siakam, at least right now, and if for some reason KD is in, play all the KD in the world. So thank you guys, thank you girls so much. We're going to end this video 5:51 in the morning, pretty long video. My name's Sal. Best of luck tonight, everybody. Peace out, gang.